goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Ryan, John, and Elaine. Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Connington, and today, unfortunately, John Elaine Wollscroft could not be here, so we're going to have a little bit of a different episode. We're actually going to have an interview with local filmmaker and cinematographer, producer. He wears a lot of hats. Ryan Haggerty. This actually was recorded a couple days ago. If you looked on the Facebook or you looked on Twitter or Instagram now. I'm using Instagram now, guys. We did an impromptu interview with him because he's got a new movie coming out that's going to be premiering at the Hollywood Theater in Dormont on June 1st called Blood on the Leaves. So it was great to go ahead and connect with Ryan, and we get this really insightful interview about, the movie as well as independent filmmaking in general. So I'm not going to talk any more about it, but I just want to go ahead and just shoot it out to you guys. Here's Ryan Haggerty of Haggerty Media. Enjoy. Welcome, fans. We're here today with our feature interview with Ryan Haggerty, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about an independent film that he's working on called Blood on the Leaves. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks, Brian. We been working on this feature-length film called Blood on the Leaves. We actually got to film it last October up in central Pennsylvania. And my role has been producer of marketing and distribution as well as director of photography. So October I was filming the thing, and here we are now coming into the summer, and we have a June 1st premiere coming up, and been pretty busy with marketing and just kind of getting the word out and ready to share it with the world. So we're all pretty stoked.
Very cool. Very cool. So, the audience doesn't know this, but we got a little bit of history.
Yes. It's we roll deep, as they say.
We roll deep.
Yeah. Here we are. This is the Eddy Theater, right?
This is the Eddy Theater.
Chatham University. Wish you guys could see this. Like I feel like I'm in the Taj Mahal right now. This is amazing. But yeah, Chatham University. We were roommates back in 2010.
Yep.
Feels right. Yeah. The little MFA program here.
The worst slumlord of all time.
well, not at Chatham. Chatham's a whole other side of the story.
But yeah,
the place we lived that could be a whole movie scene, and you did film a movie there, but
that place was the best post-apocalyptic hangout.
Didn't have to do much. There was already like a hole coming through the wall, and
we had a hole coming from the ground.
Yeah,
so like in the laundry room, we had
basement, so.
They were digging because of a burst pipe.
Yeah, but we there was a little revenge on the landlord. The coin-op dryer actually, you put your money in to get it to run, but we discovered that money would fall out of the back of it, which was the first way to save a little bit as a broke-ass college student. But
that and Hot Pockets.
Yeah.
A lot of Hot Pockets.
Yeah, the food is clutch there, having a good food diet program, but then we discovered we could just take out the change thing and use it in the washer too. So yeah, maybe that was karma with that situation.
Well, he did eventually figure that one out, by the way.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did. He wised up to it after Julian, the dirt grub roommate. Because I told you about the dirt.
Oh, I didn't ever hear the end of that story.
You never heard the end of that story.
Yeah.
Make a long story short, because we'll get on to the interview. But so the guy that took over for you was basically Ryan had left about midway through our grad school year, mainly because you couldn't get any sleep because you had a fucking boiler pipe above your head that would go off at
ding.
3 o'clock in the morning. It would ding.
It was great. It was a great alarm.
and what our landlord was like, oh yeah, I fixed it, it's great, and it never was really fixed, and you just got fed up. And so the roommate that I got was someone that the landlord had found, and this guy was a dirt grub, like the worst.
So how does one become a dirt grub?
Well, okay, when I'm saying the word dirt grub, what I'm meaning is it's a pull from the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where Charlie and the gang go back to high school, and you find out that Charlie's name in high school was indeed the dirt grub.
Nice.
And because he was the dirty kid. And the roommate I had, the roommate I had after you was the dirty kid.
Oh, wow.
This guy, no joke, would go ahead and dumpster dive for crap. Like, I would come home after class, and I would, no joke, find garbage all over the place. And you thought I was a messy roommate, but this guy was worse. And he like had a coffee maker that he's like, oh, it's just missing one side of the coffee maker. It's still good though. Or he had
he needs to run like an antique store or something. Like he was two or three steps away.
It gets worse because the one that was like the tipping point was he went ahead and he was making rice. He's like, oh, Brian, I found this bag of rice just in the garbage, and I decided to make it.
Sometimes there's reasons why rice is in the garbage.
Yeah, because it's garbage.
That's where horror stories come from. There, you put it in the rice maker. Next thing you know, it's like eating through your walls and your children. And
but I mean, he went ahead. He did that, and on top of that, his family were kind of like dirt grubs too, because his mom would go to the supermarket and constantly get fruit, but it was fruit that was it was ready to die though.
Oh,
like it was just about ready to go. So they were trying to get
rid
of it.
Not even Aldi's. Like it was like past Aldi's.
Oh yeah,
this is like super Aldi's.
It was super Aldi's, but
like Aldi's is like they're like dumpster diving at Aldi's.
Hey, I go to Aldi's. Okay.
Well, I mean Aldi's. I'm not saying anything about the stuff that's on the shelves, but once it's past Aldi's, like it's not safe at that point.
It's game over at that point. But he would have these bowls of fruit that would suddenly we would have fruit flies all over the fucking place. And honestly, he actually blamed me. He said that my mess was causing the fruit flies. I said, no. I said, no. You know what's causing the fruit flies? The rotten fucking fruit in the kitchen. So that, and he smoked weed in his room all the time and had, weird friends over. So, and he wouldn't use the laundry machine. After.
So what did he do?
This is what he did.
Clothes in the dumpster?
No. He had a bucket.
Of course. That he found in the dumpster?
No, he probably did. But he had a bucket that he got, and he was just like, why would I go ahead and spend the 50 cents or so to use the washing machine when I can just dunk all my clothes in a bucket in the kitchen and then hang all of my clothes throughout the pipes in the apartment? The man literally was a dirt grub.
He may have been a dirt grub, but I bet he voted for Bernie.
I vote for Bernie.
I'm not saying anything wrong with it, but the guy, he's like knows how to save a buck, man.
The man does. Okay,
yeah.
He doesn't have Armani suits. He's got.
He's probably not living with anybody.
Suits.
He's probably living between dumpsters or something.
He did try to sell me a TV.
There you go.
That he found.
Yeah, he needs to find Craigslist. He sounds like he'd be a perfect candidate for Craigslist.
Yeah, I mean, but he was. That's what you left me with.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's lots of inspiration that comes from struggle, from what I hear.
There is. So so what got you involved with filmmaking? I mean, I've known you for a while, but I kind of know your story. But tell our listeners, what got you involved in filmmaking?
I think it's probably similar to what a lot of people would say, that you grow up watching movies and there's just something cool about seeing this complete story that takes you to another place. Maybe there's some characters that you relate to. Maybe it's, something current with the times that just kind of sums up a conversation really well. But I guess it's a form of storytelling because it's so visual. I'm a very visual person. Kind of naturally gravitated towards that. So I even knew, coming out of high school, that's what I wanted to do. And like all great artists, had lots of arguments with my parents about it. But being involved in the filmmaking process is also collaborative, which really enjoy working with other creative people because, I also teach. And as a teacher, something that I run into from time to time is a student turns something in the first time thinking it's done, it's perfect. And, even revisions on your own, you're coming up with new and better ideas. But when you work together as a team, all of a sudden there's all these ideas coming in, and by the end of it, what you see on the screen, after you watch that giant list of credits, see how many people actually worked on the thing. It's that collaborative effort, and it's something that one person couldn't do. It's this thing that is born out of all these people's ideas. So I think I would just really enjoy the storytelling and the process part of filmmaking. And it's just something that, it's a lot of work. It's a whole lot of fucking work. Yeah. But, something that I definitely enjoy going through that process, that experience. So the end result is, the product is one really cool thing, but just living through that experience, even though sometimes it's a lot of stress, is definitely something I enjoy doing.
Right. Now, did you work on any like shorts before, working your way up to Blood on the Leaves, or?
Yeah, so different projects that I've been able to work on. Back in 2007, I want to say, got to do more documentary work. It was a feature-length documentary called Tearing Down the Tent about the Cole Brothers Circus, which actually worked with a friend of mine who, at that point, he'd been a reporter for 8 or 9 years. And going back to the whole storytelling idea with the documentary, some people tend to think that documentary is just kind of recording reality, and it's very dry in its history and all this. But if you really look at documentaries and the story that's there, there's characters. There's the same elements that you'd have in a narrative film. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite documentaries, King of Kong, for those that haven't seen it, it's about two guys basically duking it out over the Donkey Kong arcade game high score.
I've seen that. It's really good.
And the way they set it up, it's like watching a sports drama.
Yep.
These two guys are hardcore competitors, and there's this whole scorekeeping element to it that's like the evil nerd empire of the video game world. And it's this massive story, though, within a documentary. So this circus movie that I got to make with this reporter, as I watched him interview, and at the end of the day, we talked about what we had filmed, it all came down to the characters. It came down to their stories, how they interrelated, how you could have, each character, having a conversation with one another, and people can follow them. So, I think that project there kind of taught me, that no matter what your topic was, no matter what the plot was or anything like that, if you don't have good characters, people aren't going to care. Spectacle is one thing, and there's certainly, Michael Bay is a master of spectacle, and I salute him for that, but I'm not a fan of Michael Bay's stories or characters because they're lacking.
There's no depth. It's literally, popcorn, bubblegum bullshit.
There is such a thing as Bayhem, which there's really great videos out there about that, about his cinematography and spectacle and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the characters, if that's what you're in for the Michael Bay movie, you spend too much money on that ticket. If you want explosions and giant robots, man, you're in the right place.
I mean, I would even say that is debatable too.
What? Not enough giant robots?
No, I think that there are better movies out there than fucking Michael Bay shit. Like I love Ex Machina. I'll take Ex Machina over Transformers any day.
Oh, sure, but you go back to Ex Machina, and that's like atmosphere and definitely some deep like creepy character development.
I look at that as it's
there.
almost like it's a modern retelling of Frankenstein.
Sure,
that's kind of the way I looked at it. But like that's a different type of sci-fi. It's like, do you want a more serious sci-fi like that, or 2001: A Space Odyssey, or do you want giant explosions and a plot that doesn't make any fucking sense?
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. So aside from projects that I've been able to work on, there's movies that I'll watch that definitely want to incorporate ideas, whether, as a visual, artist, a cinematographer, I want to incorporate them, or just storytelling in general. You kind of pay attention to how did they do a setup and a payoff. There's a really great movie out there called In Bruges. Colin Farrell, and I'm terrible with names. Like I am like the anti-IMDb
movie.
Huh?
Is that a Sean Bean movie? Like the guy who always gets killed in every movie. Like he was in Lord of the Rings. He was Boromir.
No. There's more Harry Potter characters in it actually. The McGonagall guy with the mechanical eye.
Okay, yeah.
I really like him as an actor. I wish I remembered his name. But in that movie,
I liked him in Gangs in New York.
They withhold information from you at the beginning, some very critical details, and it's like really crucial to what's going on and why the characters are doing what they're doing, and then they slowly reveal that. And as the audience, like, it's this great thing because you want to know so bad, like, what it is that's really going on and why they're there. And once you do find out, it's that much more satisfying. So that withholding of information within a story, it's like a hard thing to do. Like, how much do you withhold? When do you tell the audience? And how do you not confuse your audience by doing that? Like, so there's like lessons within films too that I kind of take away.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So would you say primarily up until, say, this point, you've pretty much just been a cinematographer for the most part?
I've had the opportunity, to do producing for sure. Like anytime you're doing, smaller independent projects, everybody that has done this knows you end up wearing a lot of hats. And one of the most important jobs is just organizing resources and people. Yeah. Scheduling, all that kind of stuff. And for this particular project, Blood on the Leaves, we had a really great team where, we had other things we were doing, but there's 3 of us that are considered producers, and my job's marketing and distribution, but then we have Craig Anzana, who is a producer as well as the assistant director. So he did a lot of the hiring, he did a lot of the scheduling, which involves a crap ton of paperwork. So if you don't like paperwork, you better start to love it, because movies are all about having a plan and being able to share it with other people so they know when something is happening. Right. And then our director-writer, Vincent Bernard, was also producer. And I would say probably his most important and critical role as a producer was casting. Did a really fantastic job of taking a lot of video auditions and going through it and communicating and, just kind of finding people that would work for this story, and also for the money that we had. I mean, we were able to pay people, but, obviously probably not what people would like to be paid industry rates, but getting paid on a feature film in this area that's independently produced is kind of a nice thing in itself. Cool.
So, I mean, what was your budget on this thing, and how were you able to raise money? I think because, like, a lot of independent filmmakers, they have these great ideas, and, the first wall they hit, I think, is funding. Sure. And just realizing this is how much your whole thing is going to cost. And it isn't, I mean, I think that's kind of like the difference between, say, someone who's treating it kind of like as a hobby, and then someone who's kind of treated it as a little bit serious, So how did you go about, for Blood on the Leaves, fundraising and getting the capital you needed to go ahead and bring your vision to life?
So there's lots of ways to do this. The first thing I would say is to look at other movies that maybe have a similar budget to yours and just like look for articles. No Film School is a really fun site to go on and just poke around. But in addition to having a great story, that was one thing that we talked a lot about before, the 3 producers, before we really started committing a lot of other people to it, was, how do we make this compelling to be able to distribute it and market it? And, so that we can actually make that money back from that budget for whoever, investors, or if, we have to pay them off, or wherever the money's coming from, our own pockets. So investment is certainly a source of funding. And what worked best in our case, I'd actually done a lot of community work up in the area, Du Bois, Pennsylvania, that I was living in. Yeah. And I think people kind of recognize that when you're, all about the arts, when you're all about community building, when you're all about seeing everybody do well in the area that you're living in, they do see movies potentially as a business investment. But at the level we were talking about, which I think initially we said we wanted to raise $18,000, we raised, before we started shooting, somewhere closer to 10. An investor's not really looking at that as an investment.
They're looking at it as almost like a bit of a charity, almost.
Yeah, because I think our minimum was something like $1,000. You can become an investor, which isn't like a huge amount of money to make a percentage back on. Right. But it's still a lot of money to a lot of people, and I think for us it was people kind of believing in something that we were doing, and we had to pitch it though. We had to have that plan. We did pitch sessions. We wrote letters. If you don't like to make phone calls, get over it, because you're going to be talking on the phone a lot. We sent emails. We applied for grants, which we didn't get any grants, which, you can get bent out of shape about stuff, but this is another important thing when you're in the creative process. Problems are stressful and they will get you bent out of shape, and you can stamp your feet in private if you like. But problems are also an opportunity to come up with a new solution and make something better.
Right.
And that's the only way that anything ever gets done, is by looking at it that way. So, even though we applied for grants, we didn't get them. We still figured out a way to get all those people together to supply that initial money so that we could pay for the cast. We had a few key crew members. We had to get props, makeup. We had a really fantastic audio guy, and we helped. We paid for like equipment rental because he had this awesome kit. We did some camera rental stuff.
Yeah, do like the insurance and all that stuff too.
Yeah, we there was some insurance involved with it for sure. And then on top of that, we didn't have to pay for locations. Like, we did end up getting a lot of things for free, which is another thing I would point out is, so you're talking about people, the difference between like a hobby and taking something serious. I would say the good thing about doing things for free is you see what you can get for free within the limits of not being annoying and being a jerk.
I think the other thing too, and I don't know if you did this with this film, but I think a lot of filmmakers, they have like this pie in the sky idea of what they want their movie to look like, but then they realize that they don't have the resources to pull that off. And I think from the story inception of writing your script, you write for what you have. Sure. For the most part. If you have, say, access to the woods, or you have access to a barn or a building or whatever, you write for that location, or you write for the props you have. That way, that's another thing you don't have to pay for. You don't have to rent. I think a lot of filmmakers for the most part do that, but I think there are some out there who are like, well, I need to go ahead and rent this bar downtown, or I need to go ahead and apply for a permit on a bridge because I somehow need a bridge for some reason.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily writing for. Yeah,
and don't get stuck on an idea. That's like when if you're running into a wall and you're stuck on this idea. Like I said, sometimes a problem is an opportunity to come up with a better way of doing something. And in the end, the audience only sees what you show them on the screen. They don't know that you had this other idea that didn't quite work out the way you wanted to. So if you treat it that way, I think you can come up with something creative that you'll be ultimately satisfied with, versus being like, oh man, I really wish I could have got that bridge. Maybe you'll come up with an idea for a tunnel that you have access to, and the tunnel works way better because it relates to the theme and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot to be said for getting over being dismayed about when something doesn't work out.
Well, I think that's life though. Life is always going to throw you curveballs when you least expect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just how you react to the curveball.
So just kind of thinking about, talking about what you can get for free. I think you have to remember that, even in Pittsburgh, where there's, which we shot the movie up in the Du Bois area, Brookville, all these places. People, when you talk to them about movies, a lot of times there is still this kind of like, not magic, but it's something about being involved with a movie, especially if you present them professionally, like having letterhead, like we made an LLC for this. I
think that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Is to make an LLC.
When you're doing investment money, an LLC basically says to somebody that's giving you money that you're going to spend the money on that thing. So we made an LLC for Blood on the Leaves LLC, dedicated to the movie. So we couldn't go spend it on a music video, or I couldn't go, buy a new toaster or something.
I think also, it helps for like tax purposes and things like that.
Yeah. It just makes you look more legit. But when you're approaching people, whether you're asking for money or a location or a prop or whatever, having all that lined up and being able to kind of tell the whole story, not just of the movie, but to be able to say, yeah, we're going to take it to theaters, and we have this person coming in from Ohio to act in it, and like being able to like really build the idea and make it more real, you're more than likely going to get some people that start to say yes. And don't be afraid to ask. Like, one of the key things that we needed was this tree to be cut down, and I'm like trying to remember how many weeks before we started shooting. It was probably like 3 weeks to a month out before we were supposed to start filming, and we still didn't know. where we were going to do the whole movie at because
no.
we didn't have the scene where the tree was cut down. So we were talking to state parks and doing all this other stuff. And one of the locations we scouted was this cabin rental, Cook's Forest, or Riverside cabin rental up in Cook's Forest. And we toured around there looking at it as a potential location, which is the dry goods store we ended up using. But the owners, Mike and Cheryl, had a private piece of land that, Mike was like, well, maybe we can go out there and cut a tree down. It's like, well, maybe we'll film the movie there. I mean,
right.
People can be very generous when you are professional and you are courteous and you are respectful and, you kind of do all the things you're supposed to do.
Awesome.
So we thank you, Mike and Cheryl and everyone else. You guys are fantastic.
So, I mean, we've been talking a lot about Blood on the Leaves, and do you want to give us like just a general overview of what the film is about? Yeah,
there is a trailer out that probably tells it better than I could. You can go on botlmovie.com or YouTube or wherever and find it. But the gist of it is that there's this young kid from the city whose brother gets killed in some criminal related activity. So he avenges his brother's death by killing the guy that killed him, and now he wants to get out of his situation. So he takes this guy's body in his car out into the middle of the woods in central Pennsylvania. In the meantime, there's this older guy who, down on his luck, can't pay his mortgage, lost his job, that sort of thing, kisses his wife goodbye and goes off bow hunting in the woods. And he doesn't expect to while he's out there, but he sees a deer. And he ends up taking the bow, lining up his shot, and hears this terrible sound. And the deer takes off. So he drops his bow and he goes running towards the direction of wherever the sound came from. And he finds this kid from the city knocked out with a tree pinning his leg to the ground. Kid's all disoriented. The hunter can't get the tree off of him. And the hunter goes to check this tarp to see if there's any tools in there to help him get the tree off of him, and finds a body. In the meantime, the kid's sitting there coming to his senses, and he pulls a handgun on the hunter because he doesn't want him to leave and go tell the cops about his body.
Right, absolutely.
And that's kind of the whole jumping
conflict.
Off point,
nice.
of the movie, the inciting incident or whatever you want to call it, that brings these two characters together. And, the hunter is an older white guy and City Boy is a younger black youth from the city.
So there's a little bit of racial tension type stuff that goes on there.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some stereotyping between the characters, but...
It sounds almost a little bit like you're pulling from 12 Angry Men. Putting them in a situation and then sweating them out.
Yeah. I mean, they're trapped. They can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
They're gonna test each other, and there's gonna be solutions they try to come up with, but ultimately they're kind of relying on each other. They trusting each other not to kill each other or whatever to get out of this situation because they're strangers. But just thematically. Going back to this whole idea of character and of, what a movie can really be or what the movie may potentially be about is between these two characters, we're hoping that we're providing a space for people to have a little bit of a conversation about some of these things with racial stereotypes. Yeah. So, not trying to cram it down anybody's throat, but, you can watch it as an action movie if you want to and enjoy it that way. But definitely some opportunity there for people to kind of, see this unfold on screen and consider, weighing in on it.
Well, I mean, I think that's the way a movie should be. I think there should be two, tracks that you can take when watching a film. Is there's obviously the on the surface stuff, the narrative that you're watching right there, and there's at the same time this subtext underneath it as well that you can argue with that it either the audience puts that subtext on or does the filmmaker put that subtext on. I remember us having a discussion with Russ Striner. Remember when he came in to Prajna's class? Yeah. We were in grad school, and someone asked him about the underlying meanings of Night of the Living Dead.
Gotcha.
And his response, which I thought was brilliant, was we made the best monster movie we could for the money we had. Mm-hmm. Any meaning that was put on there afterwards was put on by academics and the audience. It was not implied by us. Yeah. And I love that because, I mean, it's like with any art form, the audience brings a meaning to it. And, attaches to it as well.
And I think saying stuff like that leaves it way open to interpretation, which is great as a film, because then, any direction it takes and life it takes is kind of organic. But at the time they even made that, Vietnam War.
You had Vietnam War, you had civil rights going on. I mean, it came out in 1968, which was one of the most contentious years in American history. So, I mean...
Yeah, I would like to think there is kind of a cultural ritual that movies get to take on that, like I said, this could be a conversation, like a place for a conversation to happen. Like if between all the police slayings and, other terrible things that happen with race relations that maybe politicians aren't having a conversation about, or maybe
they don't want to
have
a conversation about
or wherever it's not happening. I think a lot of times art, in movies in particular, can be an opportunity for people to kind of somehow see something there and maybe move the conversation forward.
Definitely. So I got to ask about where do you see this movie going? Like as I've talked about before with independent filmmakers. Raising money, one of the hardest things. But then at the same time, and especially this speaks towards the marketing side, how are you handling getting this movie out to as many audiences as possible?
I don't sleep ever.
You don't sleep ever?
I'm allowed, man.
Yeah.
It's in the title.
It's in the title. I don't sleep.
Marketing and distribution. You're always putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
So from the beginning, we kind of looked at it as we had a built-in audience from we called it like our hometown audiences that would want to see the movie because they knew the people that helped make it. So that was the original stance is, take it to independent theaters. Sometimes you have to do rentals. Sometimes you can do a 50-50. And we're having some luck with both. And basically market it to that audience and say, hey, right now we're marketing Pennsylvania audiences because we had something like 9 or 12 people from the Pittsburgh area that worked on this movie. Talent, crew, everybody, producers.
Right.
So even though we didn't film in Pittsburgh, we filmed some scenes out in Philadelphia for the city stuff because that's where it's supposed to take place. We definitely have people that are actively working in this area that we pulled from that now can, put it out there to their audience and say, hey, man, check out this awesome thing that I did. And then up in the central PA area, have a lot of acquaintances up there and friends and family and stuff like that from the different people that we worked with that we can also, invite out to see the movie. And, even the people that had the locations. I mean, those people want to see what you did.
Absolutely.
A lot of people want to go the festival route. They want to put it online. They think, theater's too hard or theater's not going to work for me or whatever. And depending on your idea, maybe not going theatrical is the best plan. But from our standpoint, we kind of looked at theatrical as one of the first things we wanted to do just because, we knew we could pull the movie off, but also because all these people who had been a part of it would get a chance to see it. So, we'll see how many screenings that amounts to because we do have some Ohio talent, some North Carolina stuff that we're trying to get out there as well. And then beyond that, we are looking at festivals. Initially, we kind of thought, maybe let's not do that. But the deeper we got into it, we're like, well, why not? It's another step that we could take that could propel it forward. Exactly. And then with festivals can come distribution and things like that, which I guess a festival is not like you don't just go to a festival and get distribution. Really, the plan that we're going through right now is you look for different agents and there's distributors and sales agents, different levels of distribution, I guess, that you can go on these sites. You can go to festivals sometimes too and find out who's going to be there. But then you can go on their sites and you can say, hey, what kind of movies are they putting out?
Yep.
So you work in horror and you did the documentary and everything, and you can look up and go, okay, for this type of horror movie, this distributor did 4 of these last year. Yep. They're probably going to want 4 more this year, and I kind of line up with what they're doing. I should let them know what I'm doing. And you kind of start to form that relationship before you ever, go to this festival that they might be at. And if you can kind of pique their interest and show them that, hey, look, we showed this in theaters, or we got reviews, or we, anything that you can show that shows that there is something there with the movie that's marketable, you're more likely to start that relationship off on a good foot.
Definitely. I mean, I know that like in my own, and I haven't gone nearly as far as you have.
Well, you won some awards at a festival.
I won some awards at festivals, but I mean, in my own personal journey with House of Oddities, it was such a niche that, you know, it was a weird thing. I never thought that I would make a movie like that where, you know, the horror people didn't quite get it.
Okay.
And the documentary people didn't quite get it. So it's kind of in its own realm that proved to be difficult. Yeah. And like, honestly, I did have at one time a distributor that was interested in it. But I mean, honestly, like that distributor ended up being a little bit shady.
Sure.
You know, like I'm not going to name the distributor, obviously, but I mean, they had given me a contract and I wanted to have the contract read by a lawyer.
Yeah.
So I, you know, called up a lawyer and I was like, read the contract. And the lawyer brought up some very key things that he's like, hey, you should probably put this in. Mm-hmm. And so I put that in. They were like, what do you want? I said, well, you know, I kind of want to be able to make sure that my title and my graphics and stuff isn't necessarily changed, or if it is, that I'm just consulted on it.
Sure.
You know, nothing major league, not like, fuck you, I want basically everything I'm giving you, you know, but that was the main problem. The other problem too, and this is kind of just what I've discovered with distributors, is that they, for the most part, the independent ones are not willing to market on their own enough. They kind of rely on you to do a lot of the heavy lifting.
That's where having. So you were like the sole producer.
I was the sole producer.
Okay,
yeah,
and that's where it can get frustrating.
And I mean, that for me, that's where it got frustrating, because it was like, you know, you guys, what are you guys bringing to the table here?
Yeah,
it's like, what's the incentive for you guys to, you know, put the thing out there other than just, I'm going to retain the rights for 4 years and, you know, not give it to you. But that was the other thing too, is they wanted the rights for a long time. Like, honestly, like the lawyer I talked to said, hey,
how long?
He wanted for 5 years.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing though. For 5 years, that means they basically can shelve the movie if they want to.
And what was the exclusivity on the types of distribution? Did it cover everything?
It covered everything.
Okay.
And I mean, obviously, like, I would retain the distribution, you know, on my website. Okay. You know, that's kind of like, you know, you have to make sure that, so you can sell it on your own personal website. Now, obviously, you'd buy your duplications from them, but it would be at a, you know, almost wholesale or below wholesale price.
Gotcha.
But the key point was they wanted it for 5 years, and I told them, like, you know, how about 2.5 with a renewal after 2.5 years? You know, that way, if for some reason it's not working well for them, they don't have to go ahead and still hold on to that title. They can release it, you know. But it's also an incentive for them to get their shit together in 2.5 years. That's what the lawyer told me. He's like, 5 years is a long time. And I raised that in the contract, and ultimately, they didn't even negotiate. They just came back and said, well, we're not interested in the movie.
They didn't agree.
And it's like, okay, well... All right.
Yeah, and like we're talking about distributors, which, you know, depending on your budget and, you know, the kind of money you need to make and things like that, can certainly be an option or something that you like push towards. But lots of...
I know I never really tried the sales agent route.
Yeah.
You know, and from what I'm gathering from you, it's pretty much the route you go to.
Yeah, I mean, there's all different levels of stuff. Like, you know, so let's say for theatrical, we're dealing with, and theatrical can be a lot of venues. Like here in Pittsburgh, we're premiering at the Hollywood Dormont, which is a historic theater. I think they just had their 90th anniversary. Really cool independent venue. They're run as a nonprofit and all that. So for them, we kind of talk to the manager directly, you know, so go on the website, look up the email.
That's what I've done. That's what I did too when I showed House of Oddities there.
Yeah. I mean, fantastic people to work with, and they gave us a really good deal. We're doing that one as a rental. So ticket sales, we'll get the full take of the ticket sales. They run concessions. We're both helping cross promote and that sort of thing. So sometimes you run into a rental deal, whereas up in Du Bois area, we have the Wrights Theater. Another historic theater. They all seem to be historic these days.
They have a lot of historic theaters around here. Like, I think Pennsylvania's kind of got the lock on that.
Yeah, they so normally what they do is stage plays and concerts and things like that, but they do have a projection system. It houses, I think, like 160 something people, which is a good local audience for us. We could probably just about fill that. They have online ticket sales, but that was a one-on-one negotiation because they have they're a nonprofit as well. Mm-hmm. So basically, we got board approval, and they run the online ticket sales there and help promote it as well through all their social media and stuff. So really, with certain places, you can reach directly out and start the relationship because there's not a
gatekeeper,
a firewall, or a gatekeeper, whatever you want to call it. I will say with the Hollywood, we are doing online ticket sales through ShowClicks, which is out of Pittsburgh. Cool, funny enough. But
I didn't know they were based out in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oakmont over there, the Oaks Theater, I guess, Oakmont area. Yeah, they have an office over there.
Very cool.
But you can set all this up on your own. I mean, it takes time. You got to do your research. You got to line up all your materials and all that kind of stuff. But those are two levels we've dealt with, and then another level is going to be theaters that you can rent, or you can try to get in with a split ticket by basically sending them your movie or having a booking agent do it for you, which costs money. And there's probably another level beyond that.
Well, I mean, I tried the tug route.
Yeah,
which I mean that has, and that might work for you simply because you're already building a base of devoted followers. Yeah. And that's honestly, like, the tug route was not bad. It was actually, it's pretty ingenious if you think about it, because it basically gives you access to the bigger theaters like the AMCs and the Lowe's and the Carmikes, because honestly, like, they need programming between Sunday and Friday. Mm-hmm. So I mean, the way that route works is, honestly, you contact Tug, you fill out a form saying, here's my movie. And then you send them if they're interested, you send them a DCP, digital cinema package. Yeah. So that's like your lab work, which honestly nowadays it's not that difficult to do. When I did it for House of Oddities, I pretty much was bare bones, doing the processing on my own. Even though everyone on the web was like, "Oh, you can't do this. You have to go ahead and spend like $100 a minute at a lab." Because that's how much I charge. Yeah, the accessibility for doing a lot of things we're talking about is out there. Putting the time in is really the biggest cost to you at this point. But the cool thing about that is that they have a threshold of number of people who buy tickets. So basically, there's no real risk to you other than the movie not just playing. Yeah. But if you have people who go ahead and say, hey, yeah, I'll go ahead and buy a ticket to that, and that builds and builds to that certain threshold, the movie plays. Yeah. So it pretty much guarantees that no matter what, you're going to have an audience. So that part is good. It's just a matter of getting people to buy their ticket online. And sometimes people don't like to do that. Sometimes people just want to we're trying to figure that out ourselves, because already we're having people, oh, you selling tickets to the door? And we're like, yeah, but... And that was the problem. Form a line to get tickets. Let's just have our ticket. We'll scan, right. We trying to incentivize people to do that. We're strategizing about that right now, is kind of a cool thing, because then it's also, that you have a guaranteed audience and they're going to come out and see the movie and they can help cross promote it. Getting people to get that stake in your movie and be a fan is everybody's goal, and just buying that ticket, so some promotional ideas, running around in our head that we're trying to come up with for that. But cool. Yeah, so I would urge people, if you haven't thought about theatrical, it is viable. Even if you just do one or two screenings, think of places you could show at any venue. Yeah. Don't just think about movie theaters. Think about any place with a projector. I did coffee houses. Yeah. Just because it's easily accessible. I mean, I did Brew on Broadway. Who do you know? Who is your friend with a projector in a venue? Call them. Yeah. Text them. Definitely. Snapchat. Definitely. So I got to ask just some general. My brother was Snapchatting the whole fucking time at Atrocity. I downloaded it. I hadn't started it yet. I'm not ready for that addiction to take over. So I got to ask just some general film questions. You're a cinematographer, okay? So that your cameras is kind of that's your wheelhouse. Would you say that's correct? Yeah. I mean, definitely into the visual stuff for sure. So what do you think now about movies like Tangerine, which were filmed entirely on iPhones using Filmic Pro as an app. Do you think that that's a viable way of making a movie, or do you think that is just kind of like a gimmick, or is that going to replace regular
we shot our movie on a little Panasonic GH4, which when it came out brand new, I think was like maybe a $1,500 camera, and there's probably cinematographers that are being asked the question you're asking me about that camera. So
yeah. I guess it's just kind of like wrapping your head around. Yeah, this device right here, this iPhone, can produce something that went to Sundance and did very well.
Yeah, I would say the answer to that would be, number one, they did it, right? They made it. Now, if you go on and you look at the behind the scenes and stuff and look at the rig they actually had,
they did have
it wasn't
very
just the app. They had, all the add-ons to kind of build it up and use lenses and obviously have some serious audio recording. You don't normally record audio.
I think they were using a Zoom.
Yeah, so asynchronous sound and all of that. So yeah, the imaging device now, there's just so many awesome options out there that I don't think anybody that poo-poos somebody's choice of camera is probably has too much time on their hands that they're not making something themselves, and they're just kind of bitching about that because there's just so many good options, and ultimately people always kind of bitch about fixing it in post, but you can do a decent amount with image quality to kind of enhance it as well. With there's some great free software out there. I'm using DaVinci Resolves. Yep. There's like DaVinci, I think it's like 12.5 or something now, and then there's the pro level that you pay for that has some extras, which I probably would pay for at some point, but we're trying to finish this movie right now.
Right.
But as a piece of color grading software, it's fantastic. You can do things that you could do with a still image in Photoshop, for instance. You can now do this with moving images where you're selectively controlling parts of the image. So for people that are perhaps shooting on a camera that isn't quite what they would like to have, seriously consider what you're going to do with it in post and do tests.
Absolutely. You always got to test that stuff. That's I think the worst thing you can do is go in cold and be like know what your footage is going to look like.
Cinematographer, director of photography, I suppose, job is to really go through the script and look at each scene and say, okay, what are the lighting challenges here? So if you're using that particular camera on a film, go shoot in those conditions. We had nighttime scenes by a campfire, and we're able to test it out and kind of feel comfortable with what we were doing before we ever got to that. Now, we did have to figure it out because we're out in the woods with no electricity.
Did you have a generator or anything?
Actually, we did. They had a line, so the landowners actually had a power pole, and we ran lights out. But we didn't use those. We used those so people get through the woods. We actually used little battery-powered LED lights with orange gels on them.
Nice.
Did some dimmer switch flickering.
Dimmer magic.
Over top of the fire. So there was a real fire that we built, and we had like a little feeder fire off to the side that you couldn't see that we could pull from, so we didn't have to wait for the other one to get restarted or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, just the more pre-planning you do, and you just come to think about like, okay, this is the tool I have to use. What does it do well? What does it not do well? What are some things that I can do to kind of compensate for that and maybe make it better, such as, taking it into post-production and doing noise reduction and things like that would still make it look good on a big screen.
Very cool. Very cool.
So, yeah, I think if you can shoot it with an iPhone and make it look really great on that big giant screen, then that's awesome.
Well, Filmic Pro, it can do up to 4K now.
Damn.
Which is fucking crazy.
That's a lot of Ks.
That is a lot of Ks. That is a lot of Ks. Well, you mentioned the premiere is coming up. When is the premiere again?
So you can see it on June 1st at the Hollywood Theater in Dormont, and doors open at 6:30. Show starts at 7:30, and tickets are available online. Probably the easiest way to find them if you go on botlmovie.com, or you can go on facebook.com/botlmovie, and we have our show clicks links on there. And we're gonna have the screening. We're gonna have the filmmakers out, and then there'll be a little informal social gathering up the street afterwards if you want to meet the talent, the people behind it, and kind of talk to them about it. We'd love to have you out and kind of hear about what you guys are up to, and also just kind of share more about the movie and their experience. I'm just one person. Like, there's all these people that worked on it that did a fantastic job, and I'm still learning about their experiences as I talk to them after the movie, because it was very rushed production. It was 13 days in one space, basically, for most of it. We have a little behind the scenes video that one of the lead actors, Bill Nally, talks about it being like a college dorm room. We were in this in Pennsylvania. They call these camps. It's like a house out in the woods.
Really? That's what they call them?
Yeah. So, when you hear the word camp, you're like, we're going to sleep in tents? Like, this is not good. We're making a movie, man. We're making a movie, right? But really nice house. The owner was a friend of a friend, let us use it and everything. And once again, we're really thankful for that. And we had food in the fridge and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. So June 1st at the Hollywood Theater in Dormont.
Yes, June 1st. And like I said, you can buy tickets online. You can get tickets at the door, but you really should
buy them online.
Yeah, if you don't want to have to sit there, you want to come in and hang out. You want to get a good seat.
You want to get your popcorn
there,
and your soda and all that.
Yeah, we're gonna have some posters out there and stuff that you guys.
Holy
can check
shit,
out,
posters! Imagine how much time you would have free if you just bought the tickets online.
Yeah,
instead of waiting in line.
You could find out what's playing next at the Hollywood. You could Snapchat about stuff while you're. Well, I guess you could do that in line too. But you could standing in line, which is kind of lame.
Yeah. So what's next for you? I guess that's the traditional last question to ask is, what projects are you working on next?
I guess the thing that there's a lot of things I think about working on, but it's all a matter of time and resources. But currently. Since I'm in the Pittsburgh area, there is a huge pinball scene here.
Yeah.
I won't go too deep into this because this could be a whole nother thing, but Pittsburgh actually has the Pinball World Championship at over in Carnegie at this place called Papa's that houses hundreds and hundreds of pinball machines.
Wow.
So we're kind of, me and another guy who's a writer for Next Pittsburgh are covering and doing this short documentary based around the places you can play in Pittsburgh, the league that's here, and then also the World Championship itself, which we've already filmed that section of it. And we're hoping to be able to do something potentially by July, but we'll see how busy this project keeps me. So,
very cool. So we should look out for a short documentary.
Yeah,
on
Pinball Underground is the working title
Underground.
right now. So yeah, come up with a title, even if it sucks to begin with. At least you can talk about your project.
Cool. Well, where can listeners find out more about your projects as well as Blood on the Leaves?
So botlmovie.com, and then we got the social medias. So BOTL Movie, Twitter, Instagram. It's also the / on Facebook. And then I run my company, Haggerty Media, which also on Facebook and Instagram, and haggertymedia.com. So
very cool. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. I hope our listeners enjoy this in lieu of our usual review funness. Which
yeah. I don't know how scary this was. I mean, it's pretty bright in this theater. It could be scarier.
Awesome.
But yeah, thanks for having me on. I hope to hear from some of your listeners and projects that they're making.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Woo. Well, thanks again to Ryan Haggerty for coming onto the show and giving us that very insightful interview about independent filmmaking, as well as his new film, Blood on the Leaves. I know I, for one, am going to try to make it to that June 1st premiere at the Hollywood Theater in Dormont. As always, be sure to find us on Facebook and Twitter at Psycho Show. If you do have a favorite movie that you would love for us to go ahead and rip apart limb from limb, please be sure to contact us at cinemapsychoshow@gmail.com or find us at our website, cinemapsychoshow.com. We're also looking for reviews and independent films at the same time. So if you love the show, but you're like, you know what, I wish these guys would do this or do that, please be sure to go ahead and rate and review us. We're still new. We're still trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And if you are an independent filmmaker, please reach out to us. We would love to go ahead and review your movie. I promise we will not be nearly as harsh as we are with the likes of, say, Batman v Superman or Troll 2. We really, just want to go ahead and help you guys get as much exposure as possible. So for John Elaine, who can't be here, and myself, hopefully you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.